Welcome to Mojo Motivation and Mental Health, where we have conversations that change lives. I'm Mike Orlowski. Before we start, if you're struggling right now with depression or anxiety, thoughts of ending your life, please reach out. Call or text the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. You are not alone and you matter. And if this show does help you, or maybe it'll help someone that you know, because these conversations can make a difference, please like, subscribe, and share this because we want to reach as many folks as we can. Your support really helps us. Now, today's conversation is about what happens when you choose one more day. My guest, Caleb Hall, is founder of Lifelong Fitness and creator of the Fit for Life Wellness Program. But before Caleb was helping others build sustainable fitness habits, he was battling something much darker: suicidal thoughts, serious, persistent thoughts that he might not make it. And somewhere in that darkness, Caleb heard a message that changed everything. Ed Milet's One More Day. Just give it one more day, and then one more, and then one more. Caleb gave it one more day, and then he built a life and a business around helping other people do the same. We're going to talk about the connection between mental health and physical fitness, why quick fixes fail, and how structure, education, and accountability create lasting change, not just in the gym, but in life. Caleb, thanks for being here.
Mike, it's good to see you. I appreciate you having me on.
Appreciate it. I'm grateful for you to be here. Now, I guess we'll start with your story, right? And why you're here. And you seriously, obviously, struggle with some suicidal thoughts, which I know that story real well on my end. Take me back to that time and what was happening in your life and what did those thoughts feel like?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I don't want to get too far into it because we'll be sitting here all day, me telling you telling you my story. But we'll get to that point too. And just for a little context, at that time, I was going through a separation, and growing up, I always heard that you don't get divorced. That was just the way that I was raised. You know, it's hard to go through those times when some things happen that you can't really go back to, and you don't have anyone to turn to, and you start feeling alone, and you keep isolating yourself. And that's the position that I had ended up putting myself in. And along
Hmm.
with that, at the time, I was drinking quite a bit. It had became an issue around that time because I just wanted to numb everything. I didn't want to feel what was going on. I didn't want to acknowledge the things that were going on in my life because, at that time, if I let myself get to that point, I would just shake, and I would worry,
Hmm.
and that's when those thoughts started coming along. Because in the beginning, the drinking was numbing, but then keeping going down that path, those thoughts got louder and louder and just darker and darker, and to where you feel like you're backed into a corner, and in that moment, you think that's the only way out. And for anyone that is listening to this, I promise you that's not the only way out. There's so many other ways. And honestly, like, it's not worth what you'll go through in that process mentally.
Couldn't agree more.
And so that's a little context about what was going on in my life. Of that was just really overwhelming to me, and the drinking just kind of funneled into that. And so I remember it happened. At this time I was living in my friend's outbuilding behind his house. They wasn't home for some reason. I don't remember what it was, and it was a Sunday.
Hmm.
I believe it was a Sunday, and so I had been drinking during the day, and my thoughts just they got so loud. I was just sitting there. I was like, I'm burdening my friends being here. They're putting me up. At that time, I was so what's the word? I was just so unruly with. I didn't care. So I felt like a major burden to them. I felt like I was letting my family down and my friends. And that's when at that time, I started picking up a knife and planning to do something with it. And luckily for me, I just sat there, and I don't know if I passed out or what happened exactly. I just know that I woke up the next morning. And when I woke up, I looked at what I was going to do, what I was planning to do, and it just ripped me apart. Like, I just remember I had started crying, and just
Hmm.
I couldn't stop.
Yeah.
And I had nothing left to do at that point but just pray. That's all I could do. I said, God, I don't know what to do. This is out of my hands.
Hmm.
And at that moment, that was the first time I had felt peace in months at that point. And so I'm not sure if any of you listening are religious, but this is my story. And that's when I really made my way back to God and started introducing Him back into my life. Because I do believe those things are very important, no matter what you believe in, to have faith in something. You've got to have purpose. And in that moment, I just felt absolute peace. I enjoyed it for as long as I could in that moment. And I just started praying and thinking about what can I do to turn this around? And it just
Hmm.
kept coming to my mind because health had always been a big part. Well, not always, but for the past several years at this point had been a big part of my life. And I had used it as an outlet.
Hmm.
Whenever I was frustrated with things going on or I just didn't want to be in my life, that's where I would go. I would go work out. I would focus on eating healthy. I would focus on learning everything about your body because it was an escape for me. And
Hmm.
so that's where my mind started gravitating towards, I love helping people and this is my golden opportunity to restart my life and implement some of these things that I've learned. I can make a difference in people's lives if I just focus on it now, and I'll never have an opportunity like this again to where I can fully switch into something else. And so that day, the day after I got to that point was the day I decided that I'm going to make a career out of this.
Good. Yeah, it was a smart decision. Grateful that you're here to talk about it. Now, you mentioned Ed Milet's One More Day. As a matter of fact, you were the reason why I bought his book, The Power of One More. I was fascinated by his story related to his father and how many people he helped through just getting them to go one more day. How did that message reach you when you needed it, and what did you take from it?
Wow. So, to tell you the truth, I just finished reading this for either the ninth or 10th time this past
Wow,
weekend. I have
nice,
read this book over and over. I love it so much. I have just one more tattooed on my forearm right here, so I can see it every day. If that tells you how much this means to me. And, if
absolutely
Ed Milet ever hears or sees this podcast, oh my goodness, I just need him to know that he has been the biggest mentor in my life, and he doesn't even know it.
amazing.
But when I was listening to that, I heard it first from I had saw a YouTube video of where he done a Max Out Live event, and he was
Hmm.
really talking about the power of one more, and that's what drove me to even read the book in the first place. But he told the story about his dad was an alcoholic, and so, he always talks about when he was younger, he could tell if his dad was drunk by the way that he unlocked the door coming in the
Yeah.
evenings, and he had to learn from that. And in his experience, I don't know exactly what all happened. He doesn't get too clear on it, but there was a moment when he said, I have to go away and I have to change. His dad had said
Hmm.
that because it was to the point that, he was going to have to leave his family or, if he continued drinking, he was going to have to leave his family. And so he talks about how he would ask him, are you going to drink again? Are you going to drink again? And his dad would say, I don't know if I'm going to drink again, but I'm not going to drink for one more day. And so he really built that mentality from that of focusing on one thing at a time to do the one mores in life, whether that's one more phone call, that's one more reach out to someone, that's one more workout, that's one more healthy meal. You live your life day by day and focusing on implementing those one mores in your life. And even for me with drinking, that really resonated for me because to tell you the truth right now, I'm completely sober and have been for a little while now. And I
Good.
do that day by day because
Yeah.
there's days that this past Friday, I wanted to badly. Could, I had told my wife, I said, today's just one of those days I want 3 Tito shots straight to the brain. But
Yeah.
but I didn't, and I take it day by day, and in those it's very helpful for me in those moments to look at it of like, I'm not going to drink today. Tomorrow we will handle it, but we're gonna take it one day at a time.
Right. And that matters. And we all have days like that where we're like, okay, I want to break out the alcohol. I've been pretty good this year. I haven't had any, but that's more because of reflux, and so it's caused me to stay away from it. And thankfully, I've never been one to drink a whole lot. Had I been into alcohol big time, I know I probably wouldn't be here. Uh, Now, obviously, you went from struggling with suicidal thoughts to founding a fitness company, and that's a fantastic journey. How has fitness become a part of your mental health recovery, and what did it do for you?
So it's still an outlet for me, at the end of the day, and I worked out just a little bit ago. And it's a moment
Hmm.
in my day to where, I used to listen to music when I work out. I don't even do that anymore. Sometimes I don't listen to anything because it's that time for myself, especially running a company. It's that time that I can spend alone with myself and alone with my thoughts, which used to be unbearable for me. But at this point, exercising is still that outlet to where I can go and focus on things that I need to. And it's like I
Hmm.
escape the world for a little bit. And
Yeah.
that's one thing I've never understood with, with people who don't exercise, they don't know what they're missing. It's not about getting in there. For me anymore, it's not about getting in there and killing myself, and bad time to say that, right? But
No pun intended.
right, no pun intended. But, it's more about what it does for me mentally at this point, and it's just amazing, and exercise, like I had touched on a little bit, it was that outlet early on for me,
Hmm.
but it just became something that I could focus on day to day and learn more things because I'm 30, I don't know everything about health and fitness at this point, but I learn something new every single week, and I'm always perfecting things. And it's just been, I can't even speak to how amazing it's been in my life.
Yeah, I like to say 1% better every day, and it could be fitness, it could be mental, because I learn something new every day. It all makes a difference. And for me, it's walking. It's been life changing for me to walk twice a day and helps me to clear my mind. And like you, sometimes I don't listen to any music at all. Sometimes I just walk around and listen to the sounds of nature. Sometimes it's music. Sometimes it's podcast. Sometimes it's Ed
Hmm.
Milet. So, it depends on the day and what I really need.
Yeah.
I get
And
it.
to speak to that, sometimes I had just made a video the other week for socials, and I was so stressed and so frustrated. And I just decided I was like, I just got to go take a walk. It's beautiful outside. I'm going. It might not even been a 15-minute walk, a 10 to 15-minute walk. My mood completely changed.
Hmm.
I was stressing about a certain situation. I didn't know how to handle it. I went out there and it was just like within 4 or 5 minutes of me being on that walk, I figured out my solution because you take time to assess what's actually going on. And that
Yes.
waiting period in life is so important. And even if you just use exercise for that, as when you've got to make decisions or you have a lot going on, you need to step back. The exercise, it'll get your blood flowing, get your brain working right, and you'll make the right decision.
Yeah, I was coaching somebody today who actually we talked about that same thing. It's like block time out in your calendar for a walk. You've got to split your morning and your afternoon up. You're working through lunch, you're getting burned out. It's like set that time. It could be 15 minutes, it could be 30 minutes, but get away from your desk and just, make sure you take that time. It really does matter.
Mhm.
Now you say real coaching, real habits built for real life. And what does that mean to you and what makes your approach different, say, than, other fitness programs?
Yeah, and so it's a real simple phrase, but it means a whole lot because I focus on coaching people on building their habits. Your
Hmm.
life is built around habits, whether they're good or whether they're bad. So we build habits by doing things repetitively all of the time, whether, even if it is drinking, if it, when it comes down to
Right.
things like that. But then it also comes into hydration, your steps, your exercise, eating your protein. You can build habits around these. And when you build a habit, you don't have to think about it. And so that's why it's
Right.
important if you want to live a healthier life and you want to live a longer life and be in it for the long haul with your health. You have to build habits around them so that you don't think about them every day and you have almost like a checklist of things to pop off every single day. And so I break down a habit, one for each month, and I break that down into 4 weeks, which the first week is awareness, second week is execution on a goal, the third week is
Hmm.
building consistency, and the fourth week is progressing. And that's how we've
Hmm.
built our entire programming around that. So habits is very important to build the right ones so you don't have to think about them. And real coaching, I have that in there because what real coaching is teaching people. Real
Hmm.
coaching is not just, I used to say there's a difference between a trainer and a coach. A trainer
Hmm.
will whoop your butt really quick and get you in and out of there, but you might not learn
Yeah.
nothing. A
Sure.
coach is going to give you the exercise plan, it's going to teach you how to eat, the key word is teach. They're going to teach you why you need to do this and how it's going to make a difference in your life and just
Hmm.
connecting it all together. So real coaching, we build real habits and it's built for real life. I
Hmm.
understand I've been working with people for 7+ years now. And at this point, one thing I can tell you is the majority of people don't want to change their entire life. They want their diet and their exercise, their fitness to complement their life in the most minimal way, which there's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that. And so many people take it to an extreme. You
Hmm.
need to be working out 6, 7 days a week, or, you have to eat this exact diet. It's about building in your real life something that you can sustain. And so that can
Sure.
start with focusing on smaller things at one time and building up to bigger things, even with workouts. There's no need to be in the gym 6 to 7 days a week unless you're planning to be in a bodybuilding competition. But most people's not like that. And so that's what I mean by built for real life. We
Hmm.
teach you how to maintain and to do enough of what is needed to make change and sustain it for your life.
Excellent. And I know you said true health goes beyond quick fixes and rigid programs, and we go back to building habits that last. Why do quick fixes fail? What causes people to abandon a quick fix or maybe a crash diet or the intense boot camp?
Yeah. And so for some people, that is helpful for
Hmm.
to have that quick start to jump start. But what happens is in a short amount of time, you're pouring everything onto someone. It's going to be
Yeah.
a strict diet they hate. It's going to be intense workouts that make them miserable.
Hmm.
And you can't maintain that for life. The majority of people can't maintain that for life. You reach a
Hmm.
point to where you have certain goals and you've lost some weight, you've got a better physique, and you understand at that point, like, hey, maybe I can bump this up a notch and get better results. That's
Hmm.
a whole different ball game. In the beginning, when you're trying to lose 20 pounds in just a couple months, you can lose that weight in a 30, 60-day challenge. But then what? What do
Right.
most people do at that point? Most people,
Hmm.
they're like, I've lost the weight. Now I can eat what I want. Now I don't have to exercise anymore. And that 20 pounds is back on you in no time at all. So
And
it's
then some.
possible. Yeah, and then some.
Yeah.
And now you're not motivated to work out because you're like, this doesn't work. I'll keep repeating this cycle. I don't necessarily enjoy them because of that. I would prefer to teach people one thing at a time to change their entire life. When you're looking at
Yeah.
the span of, let's say we live to be 75 years old. Do you think in that amount of time, 60 days of exercising is going to change your entire life and help you live a longer and better life?
Right.
60 days
Not.
is
Yeah.
nothing
It's
in
nothing.
75 years.
Right.
But what if you did build a 2 or 3 day a week routine? You made better decisions. You gave your body what it needed and you enjoyed yourself some. And you done that over the
Hmm.
span of those 75 years. Who's going to turn out with the best physique? The
Yeah.
one that took their time, they did what they could each week, but they still enjoyed their life and did the things that they like to do. The start stop never works.
Yeah. I agree. I can't tell you how many times I've lost a bunch of weight and gained it back. And I lost 30 pounds in 2024. I gained 8 back last year, but my goal this year is 28 because I'm going to lose the 8 I gained back and then 20 pounds. So I'm down about 10 now, maybe 11, but it's going to get harder as the year goes on. I got to step it up for sure.
Yeah.
So now you talk about structure, education, and accountability as the foundation for lasting change. Break that down for us into, how those three things, what they look like in practice.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, structure, everyone needs structure if they're going to make any change in their life. It doesn't matter what it is. If you
Hmm.
if you have a goal to lose 20 pounds, you can't just show up at the gym whenever you feel like it with no routine, with no plan and expect to see those results. You have to have the structure to know what to do. You need to know when to do it and how often to do it. Structure is extremely important, and that's where people sometimes just get overwhelmed because they might run the same workout every time they go to the gym, and that might be 1 day this week, 4 days next week, 1 day the next week. There's no consistency around that, so that structure is very, very important. And
Hmm.
education, it speaks for itself. Education the best way to continue doing something is if you know why you're doing it. And
Hmm.
I focus a lot, especially in how I deliver things inside of my business with workplace programs and individual programs to really focus on giving the education. Because if you can understand it, you can continue to do that. But, if someone was telling me to do something but didn't tell me why to expect an outcome, I'm not going to do it and I'm not going to believe it.
Right.
Having that education, it goes a long way to learn. I'll go back 10 years ago when I first started exercising. I didn't know
Hmm.
what to do in the gym at all. I went in there, I would bump a few machines, I would walk on the treadmill. And if there wasn't someone in there that I was embarrassed to be in front of, I would try something that I seen online.
Yeah.
That was not structure, and I didn't have the education. So for people going forward, I want people to feel confident to be able to walk in the gym, to go anywhere to do any exercise. And you're confident in things that you know about. So when you learn more about it, you're gonna be able to speak to it and you're gonna feel more confident to do that. And accountability is the biggest thing when it comes to continuing on your health journey. You have
Hmm.
to have someone keep you accountable. You can do these exercises for 3 weeks with no one keeping you accountable, but
Hmm.
who's going to motivate you to do that fourth week? When it's tough and
Right.
you don't feel like it, you haven't noticed any changes in 3 weeks. You have to have someone there to uplift you and to keep you on the right path. And accountability is the number one job of a coach. My coaches, that's one thing that they hear me say over and over is you have to hold your clients accountable. And that means checking in with them, getting to know them, and understanding how their life works and keeping them on track when times are
Yeah, I can speak from experience on the gym side, right? You're walking in and not feeling comfortable. I think most people feel this way. If they don't know the exercise, they're uncomfortable going to try different machines, they're going to avoid them because they don't want to look embarrassed. And I've been down that road. So I think that's important.
I'll give you some helpful tip for that whenever you do walk in the gym and you feel like everyone's watching you, you almost feel embarrassed. At this point, you'll have 16 to 20-year-olds who do curls and they're taking pictures. And most people are looking at you, but they're making sure
Yeah.
that you're not watching them. So now you're just psyching each other out because you're
Mm,
looking at this
yeah.
person over here and they're looking at you and now they're like, "Well, they're watching me." No,
Right.
if they're staring at you like that, they are just as uncomfortable and they feel like you're watching them. So you
It's a
just psych
good
yourself out
idea.
and who cares
That's a good way
anymore?
to put it.
Yeah, yeah, I used to tell people when I managed in gyms, that's what I would tell them. I'm like, "Nobody cares what you're doing in here. People are only worried about their results and trying not to look dumb in front of other people." And
Right.
so they are looking around to make sure no one's watching them, to make sure they're not doing anything dumb. And like I said, the majority of those people are more concerned of taking pictures to put on Instagram.
Yeah, I never did that. That's for sure. And you have the Fit for Life wellness program that you bring into companies, which I think is really important. You blend personal development with health improvement so that employees feel supported, valued, and equipped. And I think it's as important part of the corporate side because a lot of companies offer a gym membership, right? But there's no support behind it. How does it look with your program?
Yeah, and that's a really good point. And I talk to a lot of businesses about that is, they do want to see their employees live healthier and better lives. But the problem is with a lot of these programs, they are short-lived. It could be a
Hmm.
6-week challenge or, a step challenge to where whoever wins gets a gift card. It could be something as simple as this program to where you check off that you had a healthy breakfast or whatever, and you can check yes or no. There's no accountability to it, and you get a gift card every quarter.
Hmm.
And then there is gym memberships who they might only pay $10 a month, but they don't go. And I can speak to that firsthand because I was in the gym space and watched a lot of people do that,
Right.
would come in.
I did it.
And so
I've done it before. Yeah.
right. And so with my program, I want to check all of those boxes because I come from a slightly different background than a lot of workplace wellness companies do. I come with the trainer mentality and the overall focus on health.
Hmm.
And I've worked with people and I've made changes in people's lives. And the best way to do that is to help them build habits. And
Hmm.
we've talked just a little bit on that. But my program is completely built around habits, whether it's for businesses or for individuals. And the way
Hmm.
that we do that is so we have an app that includes everything that you would need a health app to do. You
Hmm.
can track food, you can track steps, you can track your water, access to your coach, everything that you would need health related is all in one place. And so with that app, the way that we use that for businesses is we focus on one habit at a time. So we can actually customize this to fit different businesses and organizations. If a business is focusing on overall health, of course we have our main program we would prefer to run that checks all of the boxes, very similar to the individual. But
Hmm.
also if there is businesses that have um, issues with certain health conditions or a certain way that that or a trend that they're seeing inside their business, we can actually build customized habit building programs for
Hmm.
those businesses, but we still handle everything the same way. We'll focus on that one habit for a month at a time. We break that down into 4 weeks to where we focus on awareness, executing a goal, consistency, and progressing. And then we move on to, and we keep stacking these habits. Once we go through that habit, we're not done with it. We're going to check off that every single day going forward as we work on a new habit. And so inside of our app on Mondays, when we're breaking down that weekly habit, we send out a short educational video on Mondays inside breaking down our focus for the week and why we're focusing on it. And also we upload that habit for them. And so when I say that video, it's not a long video. It's honestly 90 to 120 seconds. It's more like a TikTok because that's how we learn in 2026 is TikToks.
Right.
So we keep it short but to the point so that they get the information, and then they have their own coach. Each employee has their own coach that they have access to that is not just sitting back waiting for questions, but is proactive with them of, "Hey, how is things going with your habits this week? Where can I help you plug these in? Are your workouts okay? Can I make any changes for you?" And so each employee is getting their own wellness coach inside of this as well, but we're also breaking down the education and helping them build habits one at a time.
Okay. Good. I know you offer strength and mobility plans along with nutrition and habit coaching. Now that I'm 51, I'm starting to learn some of that mobility stuff. Why is mobility important, and why not just tell people to run more to lose weight?
Yeah, so I'll start with mobility. Mobility is super important. And if you think about it, I'm 30 years old now. I want to move the way that I do now as long as possible. And
Hmm.
especially, you see a lot of people when they get older, they retire and they start to hunch forward or they can't bend down, they can't play with their
Yeah,
grandkids.
I do that.
But that's what mobility is helpful for. And here's a good story to go along with this. I worked with this lady one time. She was 89 years old and she had a rounded back. Her neck was leaned forward like this. And she wanted to straighten things out. And so while I will say I worked with her for 2 months, she was not completely straightened out after 2 months, but there was visible differences from where she was like this to about here. And that's just from focusing on mobility for 2 months and doing that consistently.
Hmm.
And so that's the amount of impact that that can have. And I'm working with someone right now as we speak who over the years walks side to side, instead of
Hmm.
forward. And we're working on this slowly and working on mobility routines over time to make those small changes. And so that's why mobility is super important because you don't want to, that's one thing you do not want to lose. When you're older, you want to be able to reach in the cabinet and get a box out on the top shelf. And you want to be able to lift overhead and you want to be able to stand up straight and walk straight. And a lot of elderly falls could have been reversed if they started focusing on mobility earlier in life. So I can't speak
Yes.
to that enough.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned something about running.
Yeah. And why mobility is important, and not just saying run more or lose weight, right? Because losing weight could help your mobility, running could help your mobility, but there's more to it than that.
Yeah, and your joint health is very important. And so if you keep them moving, it's just like your body. How many people have you seen retire, they get lazy, and the next thing
Hmm.
you know, they're walking with a cane and they're hunched over. I mean,
Hmm.
It's because you don't continue to focus on doing those things daily. So mobility, I'm telling you, if you don't want to work out and you don't want to diet, focus on your mobility just 3 to 4 times a week. It'll take you 5 to 10 minutes. That's it. But it's so
Yeah.
important.
I mean, for me, walking has helped me immensely with my mobility. We were just talking about this. We went to Sedona a few years ago and hiked. And prior to that, a few years prior, we went to Georgia Stone Mountain, and my wife and my daughter went up to the top, and I wouldn't do it. I don't think I could have done it then, but I think I can do it now because I walk so much. Yeah, it makes a difference. Now let's talk about weight loss and nutrition. Everyone always looks for the quick answer, right? What's the approach that actually works, and what do you tell people that want to lose weight?
I'm going to say it with one word. Are you ready for it? Consistency.
Mm-hmm.
Consistency, consistency. If there's not another word that I can burn in your head, if you want to lose weight, if you want to build strength, if you want to change your life, you have to be consistent. I know we talked about this just a little bit earlier of, there's people who will go to the gym one day this week, maybe four next week, and skip 2 weeks and then come back for 3 days. You're never going to change that way. You
Right.
have to be consistent in everything that you do. And so that's where I like to break things down and really simplify them for people because
Hmm.
they don't feel so overwhelmed by their health goals whenever you just focus on, let's get 3 strength workouts this week. Let's walk 8,000 steps daily and let's focus on hitting our protein and keeping carbs in check. Now, that
Hmm.
sounds a lot better than me giving you a straight meal plan and telling you to go to the gym 6, 7 days a week and feeling like you're going to be trapped in this program. And that's because we're building something sustainable to stay consistent. And
Hmm.
so, I know I had mentioned it earlier. 60 days is not going to make a difference after living 75 years if that's the only
Right.
exercise you did. But if you exercise twice a week for 75 years, you're going to be in great shape when you're that age because you've taken care of your body. So, consistency is the one word that I will give you. If you want to change anything in your life, you have to be consistent.
Yes, I mean, we've learned that both with walking and the way we eat, and we've changed the way we eat, and we're eating fish once a week, and we're maybe eating less, or we go out to eat, we cut our meal in half, and we take half home. Those little things have really made a difference for us. Now, if someone's listening and they're struggling with their mental health and they're out of shape, both, that's overwhelming, right? It's challenging for them, and they don't really know where to start. Where would you suggest they begin? Is it mental health first? Is it fitness first, or is it both at the same time?
That's a really great question. And they both go hand in hand. I talk to a
Hmm.
lot of people that peak health is a triangle. It's mental health, physical health, and spiritual, whatever that looks like for you. Aligning all three of those is how you live a peak performing life. At the end of
Hmm.
the day, you're grateful, you're grounded to what you have, you're focusing on taking care of your mind, but you're also taking care of your body. That is peak health. And so that's a very tough one because I would say, you can look at it as if you start focusing on your physical health, your mental health is going to get better. And if you
Hmm.
start focusing on your mental health, you're going to want to take care of your physical health. So they honestly play hand in hand. And I'll say if you're in that position, which one is the easiest for you to do and to do consistently? Is that taking 10 minutes to think, to spend with your thoughts and to work through your issues or practice gratitude? Is that easier? Or is it easier for you to go take a 10 to 15-minute walk? Because they're both going to play hand in hand. So overall health, whether it's mental or physical, can be extremely overwhelming. And I get that. I've been through that myself. And, I've been doing this for 10 years, but I am still in touch with where I have been in my life.
Hmm.
And, gravitate to what you can consistently do. Don't worry about everything at one time, but you're going to just take it one day at a time and just one thing at a time. And if you can focus on that, it'll snowball into other things. And before you know, you're going to be focused on that when you wake up in the morning of how can I have better mental clarity today? How can I physically feel better? It becomes something you crave after you let yourself snowball. But the problem is most people look at all these problems and try to solve them all at once. Solve one and let that lead
Yeah.
to another.
Right. I agree. Now let's flip it the other way around. Let's say sometimes where fitness gets unhealthy, someone is over exercising, they become obsessed with it, they get, you know, too picky about their appearance, or maybe they have eating disorders. How do you help people have a healthy relationship with fitness versus using it to punish themselves?
Oh boy, I am the right person to talk to about this because I have been through this, I promise. When I was going through those times, I was the angry lifter. I
Mm,
wanted to I wanted to hurt my body. It brought me joy to go through that. And that's very hard. A lot of people talk about people getting started, and I deal with a lot of people who are trying to get started more than I do people I'm trying to scale back. But it's
hmm
just as tough. And you actually work against your own body when you do that. And so that comes back to there's something missing with your mental health when
hmm
you get into that because there's something driving those workouts. And whether that's, you're worried more about your appearance, you don't want to lose what you've worked for cuz trust me, I understand that. I've been there. But there is a sweet spot for taking care of yourself because you need to work your body, you need to fatigue your body, but you also need to take that time to recover and to grow. And it took me, I will tell you, like I used to work out 7 days a week and I'd beat myself to death 7 days a week. And
mm,
in this time, I kept reading so much about recovery and working out 3 to 4 days a week. And it blew my mind. I was like, there's no way that I could be in better shape by working out less. And I got to that point. At that time, I weighed about 215 pounds, which
hmm
was a solid weight for me, but I had a lot of body fat.
hmm
I just looked like a bulky meathead is what I looked like
hmm
at that time. And I could not shred that fat no matter how much exercise I did. And I just kept reading and I kept reading. So I said, you know what? I'll try it. I've been reading about this. I'll try it out. Started working out 3 days a week, and on the other
hmm
days, all I did was my steps. And within 3 months, my six pack was showing
mm,
because I was
yeah.
working out less, because I was giving my body the right dose of exercise, the right dose of recovery, and feeding my body what it needed. And so, if you are someone who is overdoing it in the gym, the chances are it's in your head because you're afraid that you're going to lose what you have.
hmm
You are so focused on achieving this physique. And it's just
hmm
like I said earlier, this ties back to when you get so overwhelmed, you get so stressed. Go take a 10-minute walk. Have
Right.
patience. Scale back and look at the situation. So in that moment, you need to take a pause on what you're doing every day and really look at how much you're putting out. And if you can't put in enough to refill what you've put out, there's going to be a problem and your body's not going to agree with you.
Yeah, I agree. Now, if someone is listening today and they're in that dark place that you or I were in with suicidal thoughts, feeling hopeless, what would you tell them about one more day, and how do you convince them to give it one more day?
First, you have to find everyone has a purpose in this life. And, God wouldn't have gave you another day if you didn't have a purpose on this earth. And I know that can be hard to see in those times. You can't see that there is any purpose. When you're in that situation, you just need to sit there and really dig deep and find what is something that you bring to the table. And you may not feel like it is anything. If you feel that way and you're like, there's nothing that I can think of that's going to, make a difference or change my mind, think about the people that you're going to hurt in the process, because that was one of the biggest factors for me.
Hmm
When I really thought about, I have the best friends in the world that put up with me a lot in that situation and at
hmm
that time. And you know, I couldn't even imagine to think just for a second what they would have walked into and how that would have made them feel if they would have walked in and seen what I had done selfishly. You're
hmm
not alone. You've got to find that purpose. And it could be something small. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Of course, for me, it was starting a business and helping people with their health. That doesn't have to be you. It could be something as simple as, you know, you can go to the grocery store and find someone and give them a compliment and change their life.
Right.
That's all you have to do.
Yeah.
Some people just want to, even if you don't know them, of just say, hey, how is your day going so far? I hope you're having a great day. Even if you have nothing else that you feel like you can bring to the table for someone, if you do that, you can make an impact in that one person's life. And that snowballs. You could have saved them and you could go out and be the advocate for the people who are in the same place as you. And you can't tell me you're going to be in a bad mood if you can make someone smile.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was my last question was going to be that, and you just nailed it about what's possible when someone chooses one more day, right? And it just builds upon each day builds upon the other. It's like a snowball effect. Now, where can people find you and learn more about you?
Absolutely. So for my workplace wellness page where you can find as soon I will have them both connected to where it's individual and wellness, but that's at fit, the number four, lifewellness.fit. You can find that there, but you can find me on anywhere you have social, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. It's either Caleb Hall or at Caleb Hall Fit. You'll find me at
Okay.
either one of those. Also, as far as you know, if you need to just send an email, that's simple. It's Caleb at lifelongfitness.net. If you are struggling with anything, not just weight related, but I've been there mentally. I know, I know what it's like to have those thoughts. And I don't care if it's even about that. Send me an email before you do anything. Let me talk to you before you do anything. But I think I covered it.
Yeah, awesome, Caleb. And I'll make sure it's in the show notes. And thank you very much, Caleb. I appreciate you being here. This is going to help people who need to hear that one more day can change everything. They can learn about fitness and mental health together and how important they are and that they tie together. So I do appreciate all your help today.
Yep. Oh, I was going to say, I appreciate you as well and what you're doing, the work that you're doing, the selfless work that you're doing of bringing people in to talk to others. It's because you've been there. And I just really appreciate what you're doing. It's a selfless thing and don't stop no matter what.
I have no plans to stop. I find it very enlightening, energizing, and really helpful to myself to do this as well. And I appreciate that. And for everybody out there, if you're struggling with fitness, if you want sustainable habits that actually last, or if your company needs a wellness program that actually works, reach out to Caleb and ask questions and see how he can help. You can find him at the socials that I will share in the show notes as well. Real coaching, real habits built for real life. And what I want you to take away from today is if you're struggling with your mental health, you're out of shape, you're not alone, you don't have to fix both overnight, but you have to start with one more day, one small habit, one workout, one better meal. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be 1% better today than you were yesterday. If you're in that dark place where you're not sure where you want one more day, please just give it one more day, just one. Caleb did, I did, and look what happened. And if you really are struggling, call 988, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. You can call it, you can text it. One more day. You matter. We need you here. If you found that this episode was helpful to you or might help someone else, please like it, share it, subscribe. We're trying to spread the word as far and wide as we can. Your support really helps us to continue to do that. I'm Mike Orlowski. This is Mojo Motivation and Mental Health. I ask you to choose happiness, choose to be extraordinary, choose one more day, and get your mojo back. Thank you.